Hi there and welcome to another video. Today I'm going to talk about business models, lucrative ones, the ones that can really change your life. So keep watching, there's going to be some very insightful things inside today's video. All right, welcome. I'm really excited about today's video. I'm running these as live events, but also making it really practical for you to consume once it's been live as well. But today I want to talk about business models. You know, over the last 10 years of running my own businesses, I've gone through several different business models. And there's been some that has been really awesome, but then there's been some that's been really awful. And I wanted to explain some of these business models for you for two reasons. One is to help you not make the same mistakes that I've made, because if you pick the wrong business model, you can lose and waste a lot of time and become very, very frustrated and actually have a reduction in your freedom in your life. Whereas if you pick the right one, it can make all the difference. The second reason is that I want to inspire you. I want to show you, if you haven't done this yourself yet, what is possible and help you think about the different models and which one would be appropriate for you for your stage of your life, and help you select the right one so that you can create more freedom and fulfillment in your life. So I'm going to take you all the way back to probably about 20 years now. So 20 years ago, I pursued my first business model without really thinking about it. So it was back in the day, I was doing athletics. I got relatively good. I managed to represent New Zealand in Australia. We went to the World Junior Championships. I didn't actually get to the World Junior Championships, but I went to the pre-meetings for qualifying. So at least I got there. But anyway, I was pursuing this business model, thinking that if I could become a really good athlete, and become the best in the world or whatever, there could be some really amazing income opportunities there as well. I mean, I did enjoy it as well. I loved doing athletics, but also in the back of my mind, I was thinking, hey, maybe there's some income potential there. Anyway, the business model looked like this. So I'm going to draw some pictures here for you as I go today, illustrating exactly what these things look like. So let me use the pen. So I'm going to draw on this axis the potential to make money, or your income potential for this business model. And this T represents time. And I'll do two graphs for each one of these. So this is what I call the star model, the star business model. And just by the way, all of these models are valid models for making a living. None of them are bad models per se, but some I think are just better than others. Some just give you more freedom and fulfillment than others and set you up better for the longer term. So I just wanted to make that note. So anyway, back to the star model. So for this model, it's an interesting model because the way that it looks like this. So imagine you're now either a singer or an athlete or something where you are the star. You're shining, and your business model is to become really famous and really well known, and you get paid for it in some way or form. Okay, it's like movie stars or athletes or basketball players or whatever, that sort of thing. Now, this is what it looks like at the beginning for a star. At the beginning, your income is very low, maybe even negative. And then as you build your profile and you become good, maybe it slowly starts coming up. And if you get any sort of luck, it can go up really, really quickly. And that can work really well. But what often happens, this is what I realized as well, is even if you do get lucky and get this sort of stardom, this is what seems to happen in most cases. You're famous for a relatively short period of time, and then your fame drops and your income then drops as well as a result. And maybe you're left with something good, but I've seen stars, actually, some stars, because this happens so quickly that the income actually drops negative and they don't do well in the long run. So in terms of your freedom, I wonder if this green pen will work well. This is what your freedom looks like. So we could also have F there for freedom, okay? So while you're not making much money, you probably don't have much freedom and much choice. Then you start making money, and then your freedom starts increasing as well. But then as your money dries up, then your freedom starts going down again. And depending on where you go, you might end up with very limited amounts of freedom. So really, this model for me is really kind of like the shooting star model. And there's a lot of these sort of models online as well, where people want to become stars online, like YouTube stars. I see this quite often with them. They get fame for a while, but then their fame starts dropping and they just disappear. And they, because they didn't build a proper business model behind it, they kind of disappear off the face of the earth, and you never hear of them again. Okay. Let me know in the comments area if you know anybody like this, or if you perhaps are on that track at the moment. Love to see your comments in the comments area. Okay. So one thing to note here is that I'm going to do this in red, you do sometimes get those folks who go on this star journey, and they kind of just figure out the game, like Madonna or whatever, and they just stay at the top there for ages. So like Madonna, U2 as well, some of these famous bands, they just seem to stay there forever. I think PewDiePie is, I'm not sure how to spell it. I think it's PewDiePie. He's a top YouTuber, #1 YouTuber at the moment. He's been around for quite a long time. So these guys really know how to stick to it. They really figured out the formula for staying the star. It's not a shooting star, it's a long-term star. And of course, it can be a very lucrative business model. But the chance of you succeeding is relatively or very low. There can only be that many stars. So while it is a valid business model, your chance of succeeding at that may be quite limited, depending also on your star ability. So this is the long-term sustainable star. Okay. So once again, valid business model, but as long as you build a proper business behind your stardom, you'll be fine. And if you don't, you run a big risk of being like a shooting star. Or the other way of looking at it is that you might never even get stardom, and you could just sort of end up, sort of a mediocre star down here, and never really amount too much. But a valid business model. Okay. So the next thing that happened to me was that I started going to university. I actually dropped out of the whole athletics game. I had a big disappointment, and things just didn't go my way. And I thought, and I actually saw this thing coming. I thought, wow, this is too hard for me to be the #1 in the world, and to then, create some income and sort of freedom in my life would have meant that I would have had to really train a lot harder, get much better coaching, whatever else. And where I was back in New Zealand, we just didn't have that infrastructure available. So I thought, okay, I need a different business model. So I thought, okay, let's go for the thing that we get sold as youngsters, growing up and going to school. And the dream is get an education, then get a job, then work all your life so you can buy a house and get a mortgage and pay it off for the rest of your life until you die, basically. And there's been many people like that. The majority of people follow that sort of a business model. So let me draw you the graph of what that looks like. So let's get rid of the star model. So the graph of what this one looks like is a bit like this. So I guess we could call this the professional. I have no idea if that's spelled correctly. Not sure if it's 1 or 2 F's. Anyway, so the professional model. And so once again, there's dollars there and there's time, and we'll make freedom in green again. So what happens here is your income, especially when you go to university, looks like this. If you have to pay your own fees, it kind of looks like this. And you really don't have any money. You have negative money. And then over time, you start getting sort of day jobs or whatever to help pay off your fees. And maybe you start getting a job. Maybe at this point, you actually get a job here after your studies. This is where you study. And now you're qualified, you get a job, and your income starts going up. And then finally, you start sort of paying off all your debts, and you start making money and sort of has a sort of linear growth. But then what I've noticed is it tapers out. It tapers out and it reaches kind of like a ceiling like that. And if you're hearing any buzzing noise, that is a beautiful little bee that has just decided to join us in one of my lights. So hopefully he settles down, or she settles down a bit and won't be too noisy. Sounds like she's gone. He's gone. Whatever. Ah, still there. Anyway. Okay, we'll keep going. Anyway, so this is what it looks like. And so in terms of your freedom, if we make that green, you really don't have much freedom as a student. Like unless you're getting some money from somewhere, your freedom is quite limited. And then so over time, then as you start getting your money becomes positive, then your freedom starts increasing as well. But because your income is limited, your freedom sort of tapers off as well as your income tapers off. So once again, it's not a terrible business model. It's the one that most people use, and this bee is really annoying. I'm going to pause this for a little bit, and then I'm going to come back to this video. So give me a second. I'm going to pause and just get rid of this bee, and we'll continue. Hold on. All right, there were 2 bees. That's like 3 bees in our house. Insane. Okay, we're back again. So where were we? So I was saying that, so this business model is, it's not a terrible business model. It's, what most of us sort of go through and get encouraged to do. But, you do have this, and it's a fairly safe model. It's a fairly relatively safe model for making an income and making a living. But it's very limited. It's very limited, especially in terms of giving you that, that freedom that you might be after. So it's the professional model, and it's, based on doing studies or working your way up in an organization, basically with having a job. And once again, nothing wrong with a job. I think you can have a very extremely fulfilling job and also make a really good living from it. But the other thing that I've noticed is with this sort of thing, sometimes the more successful you become, this could actually start happening. So if you reach sort of CEO level, or one of the bigger ones, some of those guys that are earning a lot of money, like sometimes up to millions of dollars, what I notice is the income starts increasing, but their freedom starts dropping. And the reason for this is just because they get so engrossed in their work, the responsibilities just become higher and higher, and because they become more and more important in their business and more crucial for the success of the business. So you can reduce your freedom actually as you go along that path and climb the corporate ladder. Okay, so that's the second career that I pursued. Did in engineering. I did electronic engineering, and then I did a master in engineering management. I worked for 5 years, and I realized once again this business model is very limited, and even if I would pursue it, the longer I'd work, my freedom would just go down. So, and also my fulfillment, because I felt, especially in my case, I couldn't live out my true passion. I felt very limited in that sense. So the next thing that happened was that, I quit my job basically, and both me and my wife, we quit our jobs, and we started the business. We immigrated to Australia at the same time, which is kind of crazy, but it all worked out well in the end. And so with this business model, it was a very interesting one. It's definitely not for the faint-hearted. I'm not even sure if it really is for everyone, but if it appeals to you and you like the look of it, looking back for me, I've been really, really blessed in everything that I've done. It's been a very interesting and sometimes hard road as well, but looking back, I would have done it again. If I had, if I could go back in time, I would do it again. Absolutely. In fact, if I could, I would go back in time and start a business much, much earlier. That's what I would have done. So let's look at these, the business model thing here. Okay, so there. I'm just going to have a sip of coffee. Okay, so the business model one, where you have, a business model for more, I guess I'm going to call this the entrepreneur model. So let's make this black again. So the entrepreneur model. I'm not sure if that's spelled correctly, but you get the drift. Once again, our graph here, we've got dollars, we've got time, and we have freedom as well. So the way it looks is like this. Let's go black. So it kind of really starts, we started at 0, and then we kind of went negative. I didn't go extremely negative, but there's another bee in the house. Let's hope that this little bee chills out. Okay, I have no idea where these bees are coming from. Okay, so for the first 2 years, basically, I made $0 or negative money. This is negative money, negative, and that was a little bit upsetting, especially because when I decided to quit my job, I thought very quickly I'd be able to make my salary back, and it just didn't happen. For 2 years, I was making negative money, and it felt like I wasn't going anywhere. But then finally, things started taking off, because I kept on going. I got to this sort of a breakthrough point. I learned everything that I was supposed to do, and then all of a sudden, my income just shot right up. It shot right up. Way more than what I was earning as salary, and way more than I was getting as a star in the star model. And the other thing that I found as well, because of the way that I set it up, this is what my freedom looked like. I had a relatively high amount of freedom because I had some savings. But then as my income also grew, my freedom also started going up. And my freedom went up a lot, because of the kind of business that I set up. So let me just get rid of this other B. It's B number 3. I don't know what is attracting them to this. It seems to be the lights, but let me just get rid of this B as well, and I'll get back to you and talk about how all this stuff fits together and how you can use it in your life as well. So give me a second. Okay, yeah, this is crazy. 3 B's that I had to get rid of. Okay, so where were we? All right, so this entrepreneur model, I think for me certainly has been the best model to pursue. Certainly I'd encourage you, if you're inclined this way, to certainly look at that, but realize that, it's not always fun and games. At the beginning, it can be a little bit tricky, but if you do it right, if you follow the right business principles and you pick the right sort of product idea and the right sort of audience, then this sort of thing could happen to you as well, which is just awesome. And then as a result, you get this awesome freedom. Sorry, I should have made that in green. I'm not sure why I made that red, but F is for freedom. Okay, so within this business model, there are different types of other business models, in the entrepreneur model. And I want to quickly draw another diagram for you to show you a progression that you could follow as well, especially with an online type of business that can help you build not just an income, but also freedom within your life and your business. And if you pull in what I had in some of my other videos, where you can really follow your passion and work in your area of talents and gifts, then you can build a very fulfilling kind of business as well that makes the world a better place. So the business models I'm talking about within this business model, the entrepreneur model, looks a bit like this. I'm going to do this in black. And so this is all inside the entrepreneur. I hope I'm spelling that right. Okay, so we have over here, we have income potential, or I'm going to put in brackets here, scale. And here, this is called difficulty. And basically we can divide it into roughly 4 quadrants. Now, the first online business that I had was basically an information product. I wrote an ebook, so I'm going to put it here. So a text product, text-based product. It's all digital here, and pretty easy in the big scope of things. But in terms of scale and building a business that was really lucrative, it was very limited. Very limited. Just based on an ebook. I know there's been people who've done very well in the past with just ebooks, but really, if it's just the book, then it's going to be harder for you to make a lot of money from that and to build a scalable business. But I have seen people on the odd chance that has been able to do that, but not many. And generally, if you do a great job, you can maybe have a decent income, but it's limited, but very easy. Very easy. You just have to write some text. If you can write, or if you can get someone else to write it for you, get some pretty graphics, you're away. Now, the next level up from that is, I guess, what I'd call a multimedia kind of product business. And this is where, perhaps you are creating a video-based course, or a video with audio and text and images and infographics, all this sort of stuff, where you basically throw everything together and you create a course out of it, a course that that you can sell online and launch online and build a funnel with online as well. Now, the tricky thing with this particular model is that if it's just a one-off product, you basically have to keep on promoting it. You always have to keep on promoting, but you have to, if you really want to grow that, you have to keep on launching it, which can be quite stressful unless you have a really solid traffic source. But even then, each time you've got to go and look for new customers, because they only pay once. They only pay once with this sort of a business model. The next level up from that, and as you can see, your income potential and your scale increases as you go up with these things. The next sort of level is a membership, and this is still just information-based products. I'll talk about some others in a second, but for the membership one, this is where you create some information and maybe even have regular updates to that, but you have it inside a membership site and you can charge a monthly fee. Now, I've done that as well with Become a Blogger. That's one of my first big successful product launch we had. I went from zero income to about, we had about 20,000 per month for that business, which was just awesome. And I've done it, was that the only one information product that I did a monthly payment for? Trying to think. No, we did it for, I did it in the magic niche as well. We had a 47 a month membership site, if I remember right. But anyway, the biggest difficulty we found with a membership model, especially when it's information based, when you're just selling information, was it was really hard to retain people, to retain members. And back when we were doing it, I think the industry average was about 3 months if you're doing well. 3 months. So you get paid 3 months and then people quit. So it was really difficult to keep people in there just because of the nature of an information-based membership site. Now, there are a lot of things you can do to increase retention, like adding, live training sort of things and what have you. But in general, we found it difficult to increase retention. But still, from a business model perspective, it's definitely a bit harder to set up, but your potential to scale is so much greater. Because if you can set it up right, what it means is that you have a recurring income. So you don't have to launch it as much anymore because you keep on getting money month after month. With a launch model, it kind of looks like this. I'll do it on the side. This is what the launch model looks like. If you're just launching, say, every 6 months, your income looks like this. Boom, massive spike, and then nothing, and then boom, massive spike. And this is maybe over 1 year. This is what I used to do, and it was terribly, let me zoom in here, terribly stressful during these times, and also sort of stressful during these times as well, because you made all this cash here, but then here was like $0. And you sort of, it's not great for cash flow. You can't build your team. Like you build a sort of a team here during the launches, but then what do you do with your team during these downtimes? And I've noticed people that they even do launches every month. So the income looks like this. So 1, 2, 3, 4. If this is months. And same sort of thing there. How do you build your team? And I guess if you're launching every month, maybe you have your team there in between to help prepare for each launch. But by golly, this is stressful, especially if you're just starting out. So maybe once you're more mature, you can do this sort of business model. But nothing wrong with launches. Launches are awesome for setting up a business. But it is stressful. That it comes with stress. Whereas with a membership site, you can build that income and it comes in monthly, which is just awesome. Now, e-commerce is another one that we could add. And so this is where you basically sell physical products in general. And you could either these could be your own products, or you could be drop shipping them and get someone else, it's someone else's product. Often I see people do this through Amazon or eBay. So you just do the marketing, basically build the audience, and you create the transactions, but someone else takes care of the product fulfillment. So this can also work really well. I've got a friend here in Brisbane who is doing extremely well, but it's definitely not an easy model. It definitely comes up as a bit higher up here, but your income potential, because if you're drop shipping, for example, can be very high as well if you pick the right sort of product, but definitely harder. Now, I don't know too much about that business model because I've never had that business model myself, but I wanted to include that because it's also part of the online game. Another one, which a lot of people follow, is the consultancy sort of model. And it's actually, if we put it here, consultant, especially high end. I'm going to just write high end here. High-end consulting. Now, with this one, if I can, actually, I'll just keep black. So with the high-end model, it's really easy. It's actually, we might even move it this way some more, because setting up a consultancy that's based on your natural skill or talents is very easy. You don't need a product. You can just get started right away. And you can start making money right away. Within a week you can make money. So it's extremely easy. And this is actually the model that I recommend if you're just getting started. You just sell your time. You sell your time with a consultancy. And then as you build your income through the consultancy, you start creating your own products. Now the ultimate business model for me, which really is definitely I knew this when I was starting out, but I was shied away from it for about 7 years. But building basically a kind of business here that is a software as a service. So this is basically what we have with VRoll. Our VRoll business is a software as a service, and this is where you create a piece of software that it's like a utility. People want to use it month after month or week after week, and they want to keep on paying month after month as well. Now, the reason I love this business is because you're right up here in terms of scale. You can have tremendous scale, but it's harder. So it means also that there's less competition. So in a way, it's easier to succeed, but it's also harder. It's easier because there's less competition, but it's harder because you need a technical team, basically, you need a development team to help you achieve that. So in terms of how I progressed, I certainly I started here with a consultancy, and then I jumped to creating my own text products. I've created, actually no, it wasn't the other way. It was the other way. Let me just fix that up. and this could be a similar path for you if you're just starting out, or if you're somewhere on this graph. I started with an ebook, and then I did consultancy because I ran out of money and I needed more money, and then I basically did a multimedia product with Become a Blogger. So this was, let me write this down. So this was Millionaire Dropout Secrets ebook, and then here consultancy, I just did video production. I did video production for people, and I did websites as well, this sort of thing. And then for the multimedia one, that was Become a Blogger. That was the membership site, the video-based membership site. Actually, that was no. Sorry, I am confusing myself. It wasn't Become a Blogger yet. This was a video training course that I did way back. This was back in, oh my goodness, 2008, right about there. Video training product. Then I did a membership site. This was Become a Blogger and Free Magic Live. I never did e-commerce myself, but then I pretty much jumped straight to the software as a service, which was V-Roll. So I hope this was useful for you to sort of see how it all fits together. So just to summarize, because once again, I think it's really important for you to pick the right business model, because if you pick the wrong one, you could spend a lot of time building something that is not going to take off, or has a much smaller chance of taking off, and also reduce your freedom. And I think if you can have that combination of picking something that you love doing, but pick the right business model to also help you get it out there, so that you can get scale and freedom, and at the same time get fulfillment because you're making the world a better place. That is what it's all about, and that's what I reckon, should be aiming for. So let's quickly summarize the stuff here. So first of all, I talked about the different business models. There was, the professional model. There was let's just wipe that out. There was the star model. There was the professional model. There was the what else did I have there? Star model, professional model, and then I had the entrepreneur model. And then within the entrepreneur model, I had this little graph showing you the difficulty versus the dollars. And I think there's a progression that you can take to move towards something like a software as a service, or something where you can have a monthly fee or sort of utility. This can be just a normal service as well. It doesn't have to be software, and that gives you, I think, the most scale. It is harder, but it gives you the most scale. All right, my lovely people, thank you so much once again for watching. I'm going to head over to the comments now and start doing the Q&A. Thank you for watching. If you're watching the replay of this, I will break up the Q&A into a separate video so that you can watch that separately. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.